And to talk about this, I've been joined by the President, United Independent Movement, Neil the Bear. Good afternoon from here. Glad to have you join me, Neil.
A very good afternoon and akaru to everybody in Nigeria.
Well, maybe you mean Ekason, but that's okay. What can you tell me about your encounter with the late Namibian president?
Yeah, I think firstly, our condolences to the people of Namibia. We have lost a great tree in the forest of Africa and the world. I had the pleasure of meeting His Excellency President Gangop in the early 2000s, where we were planning certain developments and certain structures of strategy for the country. And I was absolutely amazed in the way that he was a leader, his way of thinking, and it's a true loss, not only to Namibia, but to this continent.
Now, let's talk about his leadership style. How would you describe it?
You know, President Gangop was an astute politician. He was a leader within the Liberation Organization of SWAPO for many, many years, was a prime minister and then a president. And his leadership style that I experienced, and so many, was that he was indeed an in-depth thinker. He was a person that thought through many processes before speaking, and I found him a very intelligent person and well-informed, and therefore, in my opinion, not just a leader, but also a very, very well-organized statesman.
Well, talking about him being an in-depth speaker, thinking through processes before, carrying out a plan, what would you say were some of the major contributions of the late president during his lifetime in office?
I think Dr. Gangop had three huge attributes. One, he was a continued unifier in a country that was born free and independent in 1990. He was part of that unifying strategy of the country. Secondly, he loved the youth. And a leader that inspires the youth to become the leaders of the future is important globally. And in specifically, he truly loved to participate in the growth of the youth of Namibia. And lastly, he was a huge promoter of the economy, of the infrastructure, specifically infrastructure of Namibia, to ensure that it was economically viable and that it could actually stake a claim on this continent as one of the countries that was showing one of the largest growth with all its wealth that it has.
Now, aside being a lover of youth, I mean, for people in Namibians, how do you think they'll remember the late president?
I think they will remember him as a person that was a leader, that led when he was a prime minister, that took over from Sam Nujoma, who was an icon in the struggle of the freedom of Namibia. They will remember that man filling a big amount of shoes as a leader, but I think the legacy of President Hage Geingob will be the fact that he continued to not only inspire the rightful place of his country, but as the recent past leader of SADC, the SA Development Community, always tried to unify, I think, their position, not just of the country, but of the continent. He served at the United Nations. He was a global statesman, and I think the people of Namibia can be proud of having such a leader in their history.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us the life and times of the late Namibian president, Hage Geingob. Thank you so much, Neil the Bear.
Thank you for having me, and blessings to all the people in Nigeria.